Welcome back to the Friday Council podcast, episode 17 today. Apologies, we made a mistake last week. We're falling behind. But, back into it. Coming up to the end of the year. We've got some predictions, some discussion, what we think is going to happen. Going into the year 2023. What's going on for everybody? You on holiday?
Holiday mode activated. Yeah,
I guess like holiday mode. I don't like this time of the year. I think the right word to describe this time of year is limbo. Especially
limbo.
The period from Christmas Day between New Year's Eve, because it's like things kind of like business is still running, but then they stop, and then like it's weird.
Yeah,
I feel like
eerie feeling.
Yeah, it feels like it should either be full holiday or straight back into normal afterwards. It's weird how you have like this half week or 3/4 week, and then then you go back to like 3 days off after. Like,
if you're working retail or something.
Yeah, but it's just so weird.
Yeah.
Like I reckon just have it
Jarring.
all off, or none of it. Go straight back to normal.
Jarring limbo. That makes sense.
That's
though.
a weird one, yeah, because like where I work, it's like industrial area, and most places are closed. Like we're like the only place. It's just driving down the streets, real
ghost town.
Ghost eeriness.
Still pretty busy on the.
That makes sense though, because
today,
you've been in quite a reflective mood then, I guess, David.
Yeah.
Being in limbo.
Yeah.
And makes sense as to why then you suggested talking about like future and the past at the same time.
Yeah.
I reckon just quickly, like 2022 year review. Culturally, financially, policy.
Man, I'm going to have to go back. I feel it's all blending in the last
that's
few
what
years.
I was about to say.
Just COVID era.
The whole 3 years. It's crazy, right? When you think about it, almost 3 years since COVID started. March. Or technically it was slightly before that, like February or whatever. But like March since lockdown started in 2020. Like that's almost 3 years ago. That's 3 months away.
Time do be speeding up.
Yeah,
We're getting close to the singularity, guys.
The whole past 3 years just feel like one big mash to me. It still feels like things aren't really normal.
Which has got to be one of the reasons why people's mental health got so yeeted.
Yeah,
it's
and
it's like
still is
perpetual.
for a lot of people, I think. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel the same way. Like
just perpetually like on edge.
Yeah, it's like pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, or current, whatever, post-start of pandemic. It's like those are the time periods rather than 2020, 2021, 2023.
Yeah,
like the whole
I think everyone would agree,
Yeah. And obviously it's nowhere near as bad. Like it's crazy to think that this time last year we're in the traffic light system and all that jazz.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Getting free money, G.
That feels like way
Can't
longer
lose,
ago.
win-win.
That doesn't feel like only a year ago. That feels like that was way long ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to just go through, while you guys are talking, I've got some events that have happened in 2022 if we've probably forgotten.
Yeah, and I think, there's, you look around, it does seem like, we're back to normal. Like, we don't wear masks in most places. People are working. Like, there's no real restrictions. But I think if you look below the surface, there's a lot of, crime that's somewhat of a result.
Hasn't been. It's definitely been in the 2022 massive news about crime and ram raids.
Yeah, 2022 is the year of the ram raids.
I haven't heard that be linked to COVID at all yet. But
I think I have heard of that. That
makes complete sense.
That crime, like mental health. I think
we were just talking last night, Nav, how we're talking about the city council, like Leanne Dalzell, and how like crime, like as a council member or head of the Christchurch City Council, you don't really have an impact on crime. It's not that big. It needs to be higher, like national government, if there's going to be an impact.
Yeah, I was having this
and
thing.
so people like I just want to say people expecting
the
Leanne Dalzell, whatever.
She's not
Mia. She was Mia.
Yeah, she's not Mia. But expecting her to do something about it as if she's the face of general crime.
Yeah.
But it's like definitely being caused by something way bigger, which is COVID probably.
I think it's not obviously the only thing, but I think it's
massive coincidence if it's got nothing to do with each other.
It's whatever you want to call it, a supplementing factor. It makes it worse, aggravating factor. I think like people who are already like predisposed to like crime or whatever, yeah, like that's just
Yeah.
and then I think the third thing is there's still maybe it's not as big of a deal in Christchurch, but I still hear about how like Auckland CBD is like dead. Like, no foot traffic's still way down on pre-pandemic. So there's been like or permanent or still lasting shifts in people's behaviours where they're not going out and about as much as they used to. So yeah, I think and I think that's the same with tourism in general. Like there's been a little bit of a rebound, but it's still
they've got the cruise ships now starting to come back in, which is
so.
I mean, some people are on the
I've
fence.
never even
it.
seen cruise ships before in my life, like in New Zealand, so it's no big deal. It's like basically just Littleton in the port cities.
One pulled in yesterday.
Elevation of the seas.
Yeah, it's like over 300 meters long, up to I think 4,800 passengers.
They're
not
real
including
bad for
crew.
the environment. Though actually, you think it's going to be like economy scale,
you would
way
think
better.
that,
They like dumping everything into the ocean, all your dookies on a 5-day, like all those. How many people?
I don't know, 4,000 something.
Yeah, all them doing a dookie or more a day times how many days at sea? Sometimes just getting dumped, man.
I don't know. I've
Along with
never
all the
been
Kims
interested
and-
in cruise ships. Like it's just
Yeah,
why not holiday at a destination,
think
not
it's
to the
cheap.
destination?
I think
It's cheap. Me and Taylor
I
did
briefly
it.
looked into it.
Oh, yeah?
Like
Yeah.
it's like super cheap and like because you have like all the you got like the pools on deck and then alcohol. Apparently you get like there's real like generous like packages for food and alcohol where you pay like a fixed amount and you
like
get
unlimited.
like yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
It's for boomers. It is.
yeah,
for
it's
boomers.
super popular. I'd read that.
Well, yeah, my parents are going on one later this year, their first ever cruise ship. But for me, it seems like one of those things that just harbors like sickness and like was it the
Oh, that's just bad rap.
Yeah,
'cause it's
well,
really-
maybe.
enclosed environment.
Yeah.
I think anyway. Yeah.
I think that they have had like gastric bugs and shit that go around on them as
that's
well.
what
But
I'm
yeah, it's
thinking.
probably way less than you think.
Yeah,
Like,
but how it's made for boomers, it definitely is, and they don't seem to mind having like a mad cookie cutter holiday. I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather something like special that like no one else has seen before, rather than like there's 1,000 of you all
that-
just watching a movie.
that's
and
the
then there's
paradox.
1,000 of you in the gym.
That's the paradox
on the
of
boat.
tourism, though, isn't it? Is that people want like these spots, like there's that famous one in New Zealand. I don't know what it's called. where
was it
everyone
the Wanaka
takes
tree is one of them.
it's the one where everyone takes a selfie up on a cliff somewhere. You don't know the one I'm talking about?
No.
Is
In
it-
New Zealand?
I think so. It depends what angle you get, but it's
real,
like you're hanging
real
off
popular
the cliff.
selfie spot up on a cliff somewhere, and it's like people are like, oh well, this is because people are well, I don't know if they are at the moment, but previously were queuing up to take selfies there, so it like kills the experience. But how do you? What's the balance? Like if no one knows about it, then it's not
The
like,
pull from something being like a real, especially with the internet, with a real nice secret that's real valuable, and it just gets like, phew,
Yeah, it's like you
launched into
can't have
instantly.
a tourism business and also keep it like this magical like secret spot. Like yeah, you can try and have a balance, but realistically, yeah, like if it's such a good spot, everyone's going to hear about it.
There's
and
still-
then it takes some of the magic away.
there still must be like underground people like that, but you'd have to contact them in the country, like in person. Probably they wouldn't be. You wouldn't
Yeah.
find. They would be online, but you would never find them because the
Yeah,
search
yeah,
engines
yeah.
would be optimizing like all the generic big seller ones. You know.
Yeah.
Which I
So you'd
think
have
it
to
holds
go old school
um,
traveling without the internet.
Yeah, well,
and
that's
go
the
chatting
thing.
to people.
It kind of there's merit to really going on an adventure or like off the grid. Whereas, like if you go overseas, you could pick any city in the world, or we'll take city for example. You know, you look up landmarks or whatever, they're gonna list like the most popular, but there'll be many more like hidden gems that most people don't know about. And I guess maybe one thing you could do is hit up a local on the street, like, hey, I'm not from here. If you could recommend one thing to me, that's
Which is how everyone used to travel.
Yeah.
They must. I don't know that for a fact, but before the internet,
it would have
you
been
must have
books, but yeah, it would have been less.
Yeah.
less
like
less.
as yeah,
the books would have been
accessible.
like, go to this place for advice. It's like playing
Oh,
Skyrim.
you remember
It's like
the
playing
chaos?
Skyrim.
Chaos used to be a big thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think maybe that's
Kiosks.
like travel chaos, and they
Oh,
have all
yeah.
the maps and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't remember where did I go to one like that? Maybe like Akaroa or something. Is there like a kiosk there still? I don't know. I just have it. In my,
There will
they have
be.
like the
maybe,
big
I think in Golden
information
Bay,
signs,
yeah,
like the eyesight
you
or
can be
whatever
like
it's
some
called.
dude chilling out there, and there's like have all the maps and stuff, and you'd like book boat trips or things from there and stuff like that.
I'm sure there's one in the city here.
Probably is.
I was just
probably
giggling.
is.
I was just thinking how funny it'd be for a cruise ship to like accidentally maybe or on purpose for prank drop all the tourists off like a few bays over from Akaros. There's like literally nothing. And they're like, sweet, see you at the end of the day, have fun. The complete opposite of a building with a kiosk in it. Just go dump them off.
I'd be getting anxiety that I'd miss like getting back on the ship and that like it's
I noticed. I know exactly how that feels.
I almost had that on a bus trip. It's like, what do you do if you're stuck?
Yeah.
I was just looking up some things from the beginning of the year. Well, starting in January, one that comes to mind was the deportation of Novak Djokovic, the tennis player in Australia.
That's wild to think.
Like that kind of just
that was the mood
radar
at that time. Like most people were anti him, whereas now I feel like that would be flipped. Now you'd be like, I think, feel like, at least 50-50 people are like, oh no, we would like dupe. Like, that was crazy.
You've got the volcano eruption in Tonga.
That's right.
It's pretty.
That feels way longer ago.
That feels a long time ago.
It was like 3 or 4 years
Winter
ago.
Olympics in Beijing.
Yeah, I didn't take any notice of
Yeah, I
that.
couldn't have said that.
What was it this year?
I vaguely do remember that
right.
now, and they had them all
Thanks.
sleeping in like those big camps.
Yeah,
like,
that's
strict, like quarantine rules and stuff.
Yeah, true. That's weird to think. Can't imagine hosting a massive event like that. Obviously, you've got the Russian invasion in Ukraine, which is still ongoing.
Yep.
Although it seems like now that's kind of
Like
gone a little bit
settled down
under the radar.
Yeah.
You don't really hear about it so much on the news.
But that's just life, eh? Like, people can only care for so long.
That's the thing, and that's the thing with COVID. People just having to care, being forced to care, or like at least the physiological response to caring.
COVID in New Zealand is worse than ever at the moment. Like 40 people or something a week die. Like, that's off the charts compared to like this time last year.
Yeah, that's
COVID
big news.
here.
That's big news.
Yeah, it was big news.
No, it should be.
Yeah, so like COVID here is at its worst in terms of deaths. Maybe not as a peak in terms of cases, but in deaths, I think it's way up there. Whereas and obviously a lot of other countries had big waves of deaths before us because they didn't get the lockdowns down to a science like we did, or luck. But yeah, so like COVID here is still, and everywhere in the world, to be fair, is still really bad. But we just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And then we had monkeypox in May.
That's right.
They tried. Bless them. They tried. They tried to scare us.
Repeat the repeat. Yeah, it didn't happen.
They really tried to scare us all. But
That's right. Yep.
just trying to
the
skim
people
through
have some
here.
backbone still.
Yeah, it's going to be hard
Not
to
much.
trick people again.
Japanese ex-prime minister.
That's right.
Assassinated.
Shot, yeah.
That was
A homemade gun.
quite interesting one.
Shinzo Abe.
Yeah, that's the one.
Love
Which is
Shinzo
kind of, I
Abe.
think that one was more of a shock because when you view Japan from
you think of
Western
law and
world,
order.
yeah, you think of like they're quite structured.
Probably to them too. They would think the same.
Yeah. So that,
So-
I mean, you could say it's a bit of a shock.
Yeah, Japan's. I could go off on a tangent on Japan. Been watching some World War II documentaries. Crazy how loyal they were. I don't know if they still are to like the emperor. Like, that's some god tier like levels of dedication.
He's like they have a way cooler queen. Like their queen is like emperor samurai guy.
yeah.
I
yeah.
imagine anyway in my head.
You've also got
We got
obviously
some saggy old lady. Well, we
Death-
did.
Oh
we
man,
did.
death of Queen Elizabeth II. Well,
Oh,
I don't know. You could argue that's a big thing in terms of living in Commonwealth country.
It's
You've
meant to be a big thing,
Meant
and I
to
guess
be,
it
yeah.
kind
Big
of
thing,
was.
it's a big thing because everyone else makes it a big
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
So it's like
Yeah.
it impacts them
Exactly.
real hard.
That,
So
that didn't touch me at all.
Well, yeah, for a lot of
But-
people, it's like you've grown up that if you're from a Commonwealth country, like the monarch she was the leader of the monarch for most of people's lives. So it's like a change.
the people should also realize that it's completely only them that's making it a big deal. It's like it's inherently not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like if people just stop
It's like
caring, then they're just another person.
what impact does the Queen or King?
Exactly.
Especially in New Zealand, maybe they have some influence in Britain, but in New Zealand, like, what influence does the royal family have?
We might have some stuff to
They're
be
not
thankful
affecting-
for, but
Oh
don't
yeah,
think
like,
it's like
historically,
should ruin
obviously,
your
like,
life. She was old.
Yeah,
It's kind of a good death, to be honest.
yeah,
Good life, good death.
I think so. Yeah,
Other than what I've gone through, the other only two kind of, you wouldn't say big. You've obviously got Elon Musk taking over Twitter, which is a big cultural
disaster.
Yeah, and you've had the FIFA World Cup, which has just ended. There's natural disasters.
Yeah,
Plane crashes.
As I say, it doesn't really feel like anything like
substantial.
Yeah, you don't go like, wow, like 2022, that was the year this happened.
Yeah, like
Someone's
2001 was the year of 9/11.
Something's going to have to be pretty big and dope.
Farce of end of the world.
The end of the world, yeah.
Something's going to have to be real big and dope to top COVID, like to make it like how you have reality TV creep in the terms of the insanity and extremism of the plot lines, because they're all trying to outcompete each other. And now at the moment, like they can't really. I don't know how they can go higher. It's like people are burning alive in fires and stuff, and yeah.
I just as I say, it's a really weird period in time. I guess I don't know. It's like one of those things. I guess it'll go back to normal at some point, but it's does that still feel? It was like things are not quite normal, even though I say in my day-to-day lives, and presumably your day-to-day lives, like not much is like disturbed, but it's just this feeling there. And I guess a lot of it is like, I guess some of it, a lot of it is the gloomy predictions that are always out there.
It's always hard to tell if it's just this is gonna sound real depressing. It's always hard to tell if it's just you growing up or if there's like the world kind of has lost its colour a bit more.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like not as bright.
The highs and the
maybe.
lows. Yeah,
Like grey.
And I think we sort of
Am I depressed?
Yeah, no, I think we sort of like touched on that in like a previous pod. We were like talking about like getting old and becoming jaded.
Yeah,
and stuff
we
like
can't
that.
tell. We're all biased sources. And you can never, like everyone's a biased source.
Yeah,
so you can't even know.
Yeah, maybe some of it is just being an adult. I don't know, but
I'm still bussing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Better in some ways.
Are we still? I mean, are we adults still?
Occasionally
get that.
It's
feeling.
better. It's better in some ways, but you have to really consciously try and make it happen.
I think that's one of the weird things about growing up. It seems that the more things I read on the internet is like you still will feel the same way at 50. It's like I still feel like I'm 16.
Yeah,
but I'm meant to be like this.
The one thing for me where it started like to kick in is when you start watching like. Or if you watch professional sports and you see the up and coming people that are younger than you, and it's like, man, these guys are like in their peak and their prime, but they're only 21 or they've still got years to go. Because when you grow up and you're watching like Tom Brady, it's like, he's only like coming to 30 or whatever. But now it's like, man,
how
these
does that
guys are
make you
young.
guys feel?
Old?
Yeah, like old, I guess. I've noticed the exact same thing. Like I'll go and like look. I wonder how old he is. I wonder if he's.
But when you say old, is that tinged with like a good connotation or a bad connotation?
Bad.
Yeah, more bad. I've been talking to like when you say
I agree,
older
but I think
people,
good
adults.
Yeah.
They'll say like, "Oh, you still like a spring chicken,"
Yeah,
and even then,
but-
some will say like, "If you're 50, is technically
but
still young."
That's it. People say that to you every time. Any time you speak to someone older than you, they'll say, "Oh, you're still young. You still got heaps of time." But,
It's like furthering some kind of mental illness. Like you're young. But like
eventually you're then their age, and you're like, I don't know. It's a weird one because like I was thinking about that. Like if you went on the internet or whatever, asked for advice, struggling, need a reset or whatever, people are like, oh, you're 28, like you're so young, you got your whole life ahead of you. But then all of a sudden,
they genuinely mean it.
I know they genuinely mean it.
It's kind of probably unhealthy to be telling people.
People were saying that
It's
when
like
I was
growing up.
21.
Yeah,
and now it
exactly.
feels like that time's just disappeared. And it'll be the same
Exactly.
thing again at 28. It's like, dude, when do people say, oh, geez, you're getting old, like,
Yeah,
you better
like-
sort your shit out real fast.
Reading some threads like personal finance New Zealand Reddit page, and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm 27. My partner and I, we earn X amount each year. I don't really know how to save or how to invest." And people will be like, "Man, you've still got like 30 years of investing ahead of you." But it's hard to look at it from the lens of like futuristic as opposed to a hindsight. Very complete different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some ways I think where I am, I'm like, oh yeah, I am technically still young. And then other times I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting older.
I think we are still young, but I think it's going to evaporate pretty quickly.
I
'Cause
don't know.
30's coming out, and I know like 30's really not the end of the world, especially as a male.
You've still got some prime years.
Yeah, but it's
And
still
women shoot up in age.
It's still like you're into. It comes with a different set of expectations. Like if you're still doing some of the things you're doing in your 20s and your 30s, oh, that guy's a bit weird. Like you know, and I know some of that's BS because like you should do whatever you want to do and not conform to society's norms if you don't want to. But yeah, I keep thinking like, geez, like, you know, it just feels like yesterday I was 25, now I'm 28, 28 and a half. I was like, geez, 30's going to come around.
Like everyone
super
our
quick.
age thinks the same things, but it's a warning to anyone younger listening that it'll happen. Guaranteed. It's that feeling
It's like, and I think when you're young, especially like really young, like a 10 or 8, you're like, man, I can't wait until like I'm an adult. And
I can't wait to get old, man. I think it's a good thing.
I can't wait to not get old.
I have
Because that means
different
I've got that
thoughts.
much more wisdom.
Yeah,
Isn't
but
wisdom
I
the
think
best?
once you're old, you'd trade any amount. You'd go bankrupt if you could be young again.
Yeah, it's not meant to be that
It's
way.
like that
It's
old
just not
saying:
made.
when you're young, you've got like energy and time. When you're a bit older, you've got energy and
No, you don't have
oh,
you got
it's
time,
the
but not
time.
energy.
Yeah, time, but yeah, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I
And then when
know,
you're old,
yeah.
you've got like money and no
Yeah,
energy and
exactly.
no time, and so it's like, where's the trade off?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think.
I think it's inevitable though. So like, why
Yeah.
then feel bad about it?
I
Just like
think-
accept
yeah.
it, and then you can just enjoy.
Yeah, of
things while
course
you're
you
here.
will. You know, but like, yeah, in an ideal world, yeah, it wouldn't happen. Yeah, I think probably in terms of like peak years, in terms of where you've got a bit of everything, it's probably somewhere mid 30s, early 40s. In terms of you got the finances, hopefully, the security and stuff like that, the wisdom. And you've still got enough youth. Like you've got a little bit of everything. It's probably somewhere, I reckon, for most people in late 30s, early 40s.
I reckon it's just like, I liken it to like we're driving like this car or like spaceship technically, which is our bodies. And do we have the same attitude towards that as people who like drive their car, like their favorite car, it just gets older and older and older, and they're like,
Yeah,
it was a good time.
But you
It was a
can
good
like
run.
you can like renew. You know, you can renew cars.
Yeah, you can renew cars.
You
Yeah.
can take out the
Oh, hey,
engine and
well-
put in a new one. You can repaint it.
Yeah.
we might have some anti-aging.
Well,
coming
that's
out.
my hope. I think,
You reckon?
like, I reckon in our lifetime, I've looked into that a bit, and it seems like there's some pretty knowledgeable people who are fairly optimistic that we'll
Should-
have.
Yeah, well, should we though? Do you reckon? Do you reckon old people would say, yeah, that's a good thing?
I think
Real old people who are just about to die.
no, yeah. See, like, and the key is it's not that it's going to keep you old; it's that it keeps you young.
Yeah,
So yeah, it would suck to live to 200 if you just could get more and more frail.
Yeah.
But if you can live to 200 in
But
the body
you've
of a
got-
30
yeah,
or
yeah,
40-year-old,
yeah.
like
Or even
that'd be-
50,
yeah,
yeah.
like that'd be sick. And even not to those extremes, but if you could just 16
Yeah,
life and
I'm talking
20.
like morally though. Maybe because we're like relatively young, so we might be like jumping the gun on that, and that's like missing the point somehow.
No, I
As a
mean, I don't.
culture.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. Yeah, I think that's natural progression is that people.
Yeah,
Well, I think
it
natural progression is everything lives and dies though.
It depends
Literally.
But
what your
there's some
perspective
things
is.
that live way longer than humans already.
That's
So
true.
like, there's nothing. There's like, it's quite a hard concept to get your head around. But David Sinclair, he's one of the top guys on anti-aging, and he
Is
explains
he
it.
the Australian one?
he's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Australian
yeah.
one. He explains it really well. He's like, there's no laws that like say that humans have to get old, and like, he explains it way better than I do. It's like
It's
we
basically
just
oxidation.
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
it's like we just accept it, and we accept, and like he explains like yeah.
Funny that he's 53, but he looks
He
like
looks
he's
super
like
young.
young to mid 30s.
Nice,
Yeah,
powerful,
'cause
powerful
taken,
reputation.
he's on the frontier. He's taken all sorts of stuff that I'll probably start taking in a few years.
Well, I suppose there's nothing wrong with that then if you can also... If that becomes the case, then you'd have to have voluntary suicide.
Yeah,
You'd have to be like, all right, I'm done now. Because like...
Not necessarily, because I think you have to look, and yeah, it's not going to happen in our lifetimes, but eventually, in my opinion, we're going to conquer the galaxy.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it's like we're not gonna we're gonna essentially have
Yeah.
infinite resources in space and stuff
Hmm.
in due course. So yeah, I don't think like living.
Become gods ourselves, you reckon?
I if you want to call it that, I
Yeah.
think we'll become masters of our own fate.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It depends how. Like for me personally, like I there'll be times where I think as I've gotten older, you start to think about the concept of death more. And I want to say I'm not afraid of it, but then there'll be
Super
times where I'm
afraid.
like, yeah, I'm
Super
actually,
afraid.
you see people dying around you. Like, I'm actually am a bit terrified.
Yes.
But I guess that's how you form. I mean, what you think about what happens after death, and people have different things. Is it a coping thing, or like how to deal with it? But then there'll be other times where I'm like, man, life can just be taken away from some people in the blink of an eye, and so it's like, is there a benefit to like making sacrifices? Like when you're young, working hard, saving and investing, so you can live out a more, I guess, have that opportunity to like slow down a bit and enjoy life. But then at the same time, it's like, well, you couldn't, but you could die tomorrow.
Yeah.
So like, where's the ground? Some will say, live like it's your last day on earth, party like it's 1999. Like enjoy yourself. But then you could blow it all away and then get to your 60s, 70s with no money.
Yeah.
Like I'd hate to be on that end too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
life's a
tough.
balance.
There's no
Try to
real...
find the balance.
That reminds me, I want to try to tell a real shortened version of a story, because how I mentioned, how we're talking about such massive ideas, concepts. Anyway, okay, so there's like, and how it related to how I mentioned like we become gods ourselves, kind of thing, if we end up living forever. So there's like a imagination thing. So imagine like that happens, right? We can all live forever. We start learning like everything there is to learn, like non-stop. We learn all the languages in the world, all the like everything about the world, all the current events, every person. Then you start learning about every like galaxy and solar system, how it works, until you become that like hypothetical god, and then you're doing nothing because there's like nothing else to do. And then you go, I'm bored, and then you go, but I know how everything works, so there needs to be like some unpredictability.
Yeah.
So you make like a trillion little conscious creatures that all don't know that they're from the original infinitely living human.
A theory as to what we are, right?
Yeah.
We're just part of some...
Which I rate. I agree.
Some dude's running on the MacBook.
yeah. But then it keeps going, and then as they become gods, then they explode their own little...
Yeah, that's when you start... You have to
because-
start peeling layers, and then you have things like free will and
turtles all the way down.
And there's other dimensions and stuff. Yeah, there's like so much. It's impossible to say. And maybe a happy medium would be like the ability to like go for deep sleep. So you go to sleep for 100 years and then you can come back. Like, I don't know, things like that where you can peace out for as long as you want.
Yeah.
And then come back. Maybe that would be cool because you might not want to be alive.
There must have to be... Well, you'd hope there's autonomy in that situation and you're not being like enslaved to stay alive. We all live forever, but then we like get enslaved permanently by the reptilian overlords.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, we really shot ourselves in the foot there. Now we're living forever in this hell.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I guess once you get that far down, it does get a bit murky. But I like the idea.
We don't know anyway, right or wrong.
I like the idea of like at least like expanding like human life to like 150, 200 years if not.
That's good. That's bringing it back down to earth.
Yeah, I think that's like plausible, right?
Less.
And that's still like way less than some other species. So if like say the Greenland shark lives for like 500 years, so it's like if a Greenland shark can live for 500 years, like why can't a human live for 500 years?
I know what you mean.
And there's other species that live well over 100, 200 years.
Yeah, you have like tortoises.
Yeah, things like that. So it's like, there's nothing to say that we can't live that long.
All right, so that's a pretty good segue into... So, like, we've gone pretty progressed from the past.
Oh,
present.
just one other thing. There's a really good movie actually on that. What is it called? It's something like The Man Who Walked Earth, or The Man from Earth. It's super good. Basically, he does live forever. And so he's like, whatever, a genetic outlier.
It's not the Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
No. Let me find the title. But basically, he's been living forever, and so
The Man from Earth.
yeah, I think it's The Man from Earth. And so he doesn't age. He looks like he's like 30 or 40, and that's like his fixed age. So he has to keep, or he doesn't have to, but he does. He'll just every like 20 years move on, start again, because otherwise people will like start realizing. But then the concept of the movie is that he finally decides that he'll tell people about it, and of course like it's highly skeptical. It's a super good movie because it's like
cool.
they think he's like just a great storyteller, and then they're going in between and it ties in like all religion and all sorts of stuff into it. So it'll be a great movie to watch.
There would be a hard
Yeah,
like if you remained, let's say as a mid 20-year-old, you could keep that going for the next 50 years. Obviously there's benefits and perks to that, but to see people around, like if see people around you aging and starting to die, like that would start to become quite lonely.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
there might be
movie
some
touches on
massive
that really well.
oversight to our lack of wisdom as a species, or just as us as young men. Like there might be something that we jump the gun, and then it's like not a good thing.
Yeah,
all of a sudden it's too late. Like everyone can just take this pill. You can spike people's drinks and make them live forever.
that movie's a really good watch because it incorporates
cool.
all that. It's like I won't spoil too much, but there's
I
a
wanna
female
watch it. I
there's a
definitely wanna
female
watch
who's
it.
interested in him, and then he's like, I can't, because he knows what will happen.
And she's like, I don't care.
Yeah. So
Like, no, I've done this 100 times. Trust me.
It's a very, very thought-provoking movie.
Yeah, I'm real keen to watch that.
Very, very, very good watch.
Shall we talk about near future then, Nick? Basically a reverse flip of what you just did, Nav.
Yeah.
But
You're ahead.
so high topics for 2023 that we're going to see. I reckon,
Near future, so are we gonna,
or just general trends,
put
that
a
will also
timeline on it, so
I
like
think
1 to 2 years.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can start with, I think, just 1 year. Let's go for 2023, and we can.
Okay,
expand on that if we-
I reckon next year continued and maybe final realization of how much small businesses and like little local everything's are gone.
Completely, like,
Not completely gone, but like people finally realize that it's a real serious issue, and there were heaps knocked out. And on the flip side of that, I reckon our lives will become more like you buy from like 3 brands, or maybe not 3, it's an extreme,
Well,
but
that's
eventually
the
it'll be
thing.
like
I was
that. But
talking
we
to-
buy from 20 brands only. It's like the warehouse.
Yeah. I was
Bunnings.
talking to a colleague. Sorry, I don't want to go too much on a tangent. And he had a theory that is putting on my tinfoil hat here.
Love it.
With the death of small businesses, it becomes a lot easier for governments to control and to regulate the bigger businesses, because you've got hundreds or thousands of smaller businesses and they're all doing their own thing, or at least with bigger businesses where you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on. And then,
you can like legislate for
yeah.
OSH, health and safety, asbestos people to come in, and then they have to pay all these bullshit jobs.
Yes.
My job's not bullshit though. I say
No.
all these like filler jobs that have just been legislated into existence.
And that's a hard
then
thing.
we pay for that. So the government gets taxes from everyone who's working these BS jobs.
And maybe that's the
Government
thing we
rakes it all
need
in.
to
and they
shift
can do that with
into.
big businesses. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all good. Like shift into, like, a lot of people will look at buying stuff as like, okay, what's the cheapest I can get?
Yeah.
Well, smaller businesses may be a little bit more expensive, but they're local. They're supporting, people in the community. Maybe there's a small price to pay to keep that up. Yeah. But obviously, when you're in like a cost of living crisis and everything's becoming expensive, that's very hard to do. But yeah, we'll go back to what you're saying. So that's a good point.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
1 to 2, 3 years, maybe 4 years.
So
Over the, like,
is this more like just like retail stores, for example? You'll still continue to have big stores for
Well,
all industries.
yes, but I just think the other than direct legislation stopping monopolization, then the general trend is to monopolization. And
Right.
that's like how you win capitalism.
So you could even almost have like
Yeah.
a few industries with oligopolies.
I
Yeah,
think-
so without government, but then they'll be inside deals all over the place, so that they'll be like, well, technically we're not, like, they still sell one other product that we don't sell, and so they'll work around, I reckon.
Yeah,
And that's how that will happen.
I think monopolies are fine as long as they're genuine monopolies.
It's kind of like being ruled by a dictator, though, and just hoping they're a nice dictator.
I think
and not a shit
monopolies are very misunderstood. So a monopoly is bad. Say an example, and they're kind of not a monopoly because, but TAB, for example, or Sky City. Sky City is a monopoly, in certain cities in Auckland and Queen. Yeah, but anyway,
Queenstown, Hamilton, I think.
yeah, I think you're right. But we'll just say Auckland anyway. They have a monopoly on the casino market in Auckland because they pay the government a huge sum of money to say that we're the only one that can operate a casino in Auckland. That's a bad monopoly because that's like being protected by a government entity.
Yes.
A good monopoly, or at least like a not a bad monopoly, is if there's no like law or like ruler, like a military or something, like ensuring that they stay in business. It's just that they're so good at doing business that no one can compete.
So that could be like what Amazon.
It's like what Amazon is. So like, there's nothing to stop you competing.
Could theoretically,
there's nothing to stop you competing with Amazon. It's just really hard because they're really good at what they do. But Amazon's not being protected by any like framework that says they're the only one that can run in this industry. So.
But then aren't we still just hoping for like, it's just a good monopolization?
Can we control it? So this is what will happen. So then you say, oh, well, now they have a monopoly, so now they'll put their prices up or they'll rip you off or whatever. Then, as long as there's no legislation protecting them, then there'll be an opportunity for other businesses to come in, because all of a sudden they've doubled their prices. Oh, now I can get into the industry, cut the prices in half. So it will eventually...
But then all a bad monopoly has to do then is just not do that and still rake all the benefits of a monopoly and just keep prices like, because they're at such a massive scale, still below what some local can do it.
Yeah,
but
then
they're still making trillions.
No, but then they wouldn't be if they had to cut their prices so low that they were undercutting someone else, right?
No, but they got the economy scale; they can just afford to.
You can only do that for so long.
So theoretically, they'd have to have the price like at a perfect.
Or the reverse argument would be that would be good because they've cut their prices, so they're protecting their business. But then the consumer's getting a better deal.
Yeah,
so
it's good for the consumer, but is it good for like? That's what I'm saying. My prediction is just like, as consumers, we're going to have like lesser and lesser just selection, and then we have lesser choice. Like, but they deal with the government.
I see what
on
you're
their
saying,
own,
but
and we're left to just reap the rewards or get fucked.
I think it ultimately does come down to, it's like, if you look at what Amazon provides, for example, it's like you can get anything and everything under the sun on Amazon.
Sometimes in less,
but like the working conditions at Amazon are like notoriously shit. So that's what I mean for us, and we're the workers.
There's a fair point to that.
Unless we have universal basic income.
Yeah, but that's I feel like that's again somehow the same thing. No. Like it ends up with like
I don't know.
It makes life more grey. Yeah, when there's like the warehouse.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And I do always. I personally think there always will be businesses that differentiate, especially for wealthy people. Because wealthy people are happy to pay big money for like artistic, or this is a massive generalization. A good portion of wealthy people, like to get a unique piece of art or a unique product or something that not the everyday man can buy.
Yeah.
So you're always going to have businesses that cater, that they take the basic product and they put some special spin on it.
I agree.
Ferrari, like a good example of that is like Ferrari and Lamborghini, right? Like, what percentage of the population buy them? Bugatti. Not many can buy them. So like they're catering, like they're by definition niche businesses, aren't they? Like they, again, so that's not for the everyday man, but there will be sort of, I think,
that's a good point.
Yeah, and I think like maybe
it doesn't do anything for us though, just for the rich people.
Yeah, so maybe an example for the common man would be a business like Etsy or something.
Yeah. I buy stuff off Etsy.
Yeah, so like there are those businesses, because there are people that just love like creative, unique shit. They don't want the bland vanilla option.
You can't. Yeah, that's actually something that you, by definition, cannot put on a mass scale, because then it's not a unique
true
piece.
Right, exactly.
So like they'll never be able to compete with that.
And then you will have,
it just takes people to recognize beauty and aesthetics rather than convenience and cheapness.
And then you'll have, I guess,
which isn't going to happen either.
Yeah, like people are always happy to pay for like their favorite like YouTuber or whatever. They have their cult followings and stuff like that. So I think
even not, but YouTube's basically like a brand new industry, and you can see that being monopoly. Like the biggest people are like so much
video because it's so good, right?
And it funnels everyone to Mr. Beast and
PewDiePie
and T Series,
I don't know.
Mr. Beast, T Series, and PewDiePie end up being
T Series. T Series
Yeah,
is it's that
the Indian,
Indian
yeah.
music.
yeah. Glad they
Um,
didn't win.
No, that's fair.
I thought they did.
I have no idea.
Maybe they did
I
actually.
think they did.
But then he took over again or
I don't
something,
know.
and then
I
and
think
then
I remember
Mr. Beast now.
Googling when there was that whole
Yeah,
like T
yeah.
Series versus Mr. Beast, and then I was like, well, I didn't even know what T Series is.
Hmm.
But obviously, you have a big population of Indian people. It's like, well, it makes sense that just naturally.
and it's just Vivo. It's just Indian Vivo.
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
which we
And sorry, just getting back to
Yeah,
it.
no,
like,
get back to the
I
bigger
think
topic.
like we had this discussion like last week. Like you enjoy collecting video games, and I started getting collecting war stuff.
War stuff.
Oh,
It's
now
called-
it
it's
starts.
called-
Now you have to explain. Yeah,
it's
you have to
called-
explain yourself now.
No,
Because
no,
that's
it's
going to be way more sus than the
It's
truth.
called militaria. So like
Yeah.
war
That's
medals.
Who doesn't love
weapons,
dope daggers
yeah,
and
like,
shit?
Yeah, it's super cool. There's
Real
some-
war dagger.
Yeah.
That's a cool way
So
to pay
there's a whole
respect.
thriving like underground. I guess underground because it's not very mainstream, but there's a whole. And that's it. Like you like look at some of the YouTube. There's no like YouTube channel that has like 1 million followers in that, and they're all like 20,000. They're like super small because it's a super niche.
Yeah, and it just
But-
takes people to
Yeah,
to
pay-
value
like,
It's just the
things.
right amount, like of
Yeah,
a
it's
market
like-
where they
yeah,
can,
like can
yeah,
exist.
it can thrive. It can
Yes,
exist.
Yeah,
so like
specialised.
I think there's and there'll be all sorts of other weird and wacky stuff out
Yeah.
there. And
I agree,
Don't
but-
mean that in a derogatory way, but yeah, like so I think there will. Yeah, I get what you're saying. There is gonna be like an amalgamation of, but I don't think it'll be to
No,
to
and
get to
I
this.
100% agree with you as well. And you mentioned underground. It's literally way cooler to like support real local, like but expensive niche stuff if you can afford it. It's,
Yeah,
I'm speaking
yeah.
from a place of massive
think
privilege here.
The
But
businesses that will suffer the most are like you're the ones who are just trying to be like the warehouse on a small scale.
Yeah.
So I can't think of like one of those stores, but we've all seen them, right? Especially in small towns like the hardware street,
Yeah.
on hardware shop on Main Street. Those are the ones that are going to survive because that's it. They're not differentiating. They're trying to be the warehouse or Amazon on a small scale, just the vanilla experience with
Yeah,
nothing
vanilla
different
experience.
except for the fact that they're local.
Yeah.
Those ones are suffering and will suffer. So
Yeah.
the key is, you're going to have to differentiate. No one is going
Agree.
to copy or someone
I don't
may.
think it's like the end of the world.
No.
But then there'll be.
Yeah.
We've just got to choose
It's
the right
almost-
options
it's
as
like,
consumers.
when Facebook came out and people were like, like a restaurant, for example, if they weren't advertising themselves on Facebook, it's like, well, no one's really going to know about them. Now, I won't say it's necessarily Facebook, but if you're going into a restaurant or like looking up a restaurant online and they don't have a website where you can look at the menu, like, what are you doing in 2022? Like, you need to have something.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
you're
right,
going
on
to
the
fall
footprint.
behind unless you've just got the best restaurant that thrives and survives off word of mouth.
Yeah, and there will be. You always hear about those. Like mysterious. Like wow, this is like the greatest pizza joint in this alleyway in New York. That's like no one everyone knows about, but no one knows about it. Yeah, you hear about those, but they're going to be the one in a thousands.
So we probably need to try and squeeze some more predictions in before we start.
Yeah,
going
well,
too
go
far.
with a simple one because it's kind of the biggest thing that will happen in New Zealand probably is the election. I'll go for a call that National Act will win, but I think it'll be way tighter than some. It won't be a landslide. It'll be.
I reckon
think-
67. I reckn landslide. 67% will vote national.
I reckon
That's my prediction.
I
We'll
reckon-
compare it then next year.
I'm going more like it'll be like 53% will vote right. I think Labour will pull out all the tricks, and this year they'll
Buy some votes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll pull out the cheap votes, but then as the people again, like we're saying, you got to choose what's like the good choice for you, not what's the most convenient and cheap,
and also I
and
think
gets you the most money.
I think there's a portion of people who they say now that they'll vote for national for the first time in their life or whatever, but when the election comes, they'll be like,
can't do it.
Oh no, I've always
They'll be
voted
like,
Labour.
but
It's the People's Party or whatever, and they'll resort.
I got a side question for you related to the elections. Will Winston Peters be back in?
Yeah. Oh,
He'll
I
get
hope so.
like
I don't
first.
think so,
No,
but I really hope
he'll
so.
get like a 2 or 3 or 4%,
I hope
but he won't get
that
to
would be
5.
so bussin' lit.
No, he won't. He
No,
won't.
I agree. He
All
won't.
right,
I
fair
think
enough.
he's-
I don't think he will either.
he-
I
he
think
can-
his time's done.
I think you can.
We could
I think,
manifest him in, guys. We could manifest him in. That'd be so sick.
I don't like him.
Everyone, he's going to get
I
in.
think ACT has cornered a lot of, even though they're actually quite different parties, but ACT is they've become the party of law and order, and like like sensible. Like let's not go. They'll become the handbrake party, if you will.
Yep.
So I think too many. Winston Peters'
That's a good
moment
time.
in the sun.
You think
has been gone.
he peaked too early by siding with Labour originally, and people have probably.
I think people probably forgotten about that. I just don't think.
I think ACT have swallowed up almost of his vote
the
base,
people,
for sure.
the people are like, "Damn, like we just need like rock. We need law and order, and we need to like be sensible and things like that. Too many. ACT has swallowed up.
Like monitoring the spending of beneficiaries.
We need to be
incomes.
fiscally conservative.
It's got to be so easy. We've got AI that you could just leave that to a robot to do, to double check. Browsers.com? Probably not necessary.
I'm trying to
Warning
think
one.
of a prediction for the just drawing blanks at the moment.
What about longer term then?
Longer term,
Like trends. Trends. Doesn't have to be specific predictions. Although
I think
that it's good because the risk reward for stating specific predictions on here is higher.
I'm thinking, will we
67% national.
potentially have an electric car affordable for the common man? So let's say 25k electric car, possibly.
Yeah, it will come in due
Pretty
course. Yeah,
sure.
But then at the same time,
Second hand at least.
will electric cars? I don't know. It's kind of like it's not necessarily new technology because they've been around for a while. But I think there's a lot of shift for and against. Like you're either real for
Yeah, it's
like
kind of dividing us
yeah.
again. One
It's
more
like
way.
well, some people are like no because you're gonna have to buy a new battery after 5 years or.
Imagine the stigma of they're looking down upon the like boy racers who still obviously live and die by their petrol cars, as like 90% of people are driving around in these pussy like silent electric cars. The steers they're going to get from most people on the roads.
I think that's another
Never give up,
example
guys.
of
Never give up, boy
like
racers.
a niche community that will just thrive. Like it will eventually become.
It's just like basically punk.
yeah.
Very, very fuck the system.
Well, I think it's another form of like youth who are lost essentially because it's a form of like rebellion. Not all, some are just into it because they like cars, but the ones who take it to extremes.
I wonder if they'll get old. I wonder if they'll become old. How long have boy
I think they
racers
grow
been a
out.
popular
Like
thing?
both my brothers were boy racers when they were in their 20s, and now they're no longer boy. So I think for most people it's a phase.
Yeah, I think you're right.
This might be completely sidetracked for shorter term future. I think house prices will plateau and start to go back up again.
I think so too. Interest rates will peak.
No bias
year.
in those predictions.
Late
from
next year.
two homeowners.
Late next year, interest rates peak.
No.
So
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, I think it's one of those
And I
things that suits. Yeah, I think
it's a lot of it's very like
I
it's
also
completely
think
out of your hands.
It is out of your hands, and it may not.
That's not
like
going to
it
happen
does.
naturally one way or the other. That will
But
be
also,
massively,
it could be
has been
tied
caused
in
by
with,
the central bank.
Tied in with the election. If National to get back into power,
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah,
they could
true.
really, for whatever reason, just
rail on that
rail on that, and then
Yeah.
you might have a bit of a rally again.
for sure. Inflation, they'll use that. They'll use anything that's bad that's come out of the previous.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the first half of the year will be rough. First 6 to 8 months. I think by this time, Christmas next year, things might be looking a bit more rosy.
bottoming out.
Economically,
That's if they don't release COVID 2, the sequel,
Yeah, true that.
or
And-
something equivalent,
Yeah.
which no doubt something's bound to happen. I shouldn't
Crazy
say
to
they would.
think
That makes
it's
me way more conspiracy.
2023, but COVID-19. Like it's four
COVID.
years ago.
I
COVID
don't-
4
was
years.
that why it was named COVID?
Because it started at first.
Is that
yeah,
why
I'm
it
pretty
was?
sure because it first appeared in 2019.
No, neither. I don't care. It's a very irrelevant detail for me. But yeah,
Uh,
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard being put on the spot.
Yeah, I think like an obvious one is that like things are going to become more and more like digitized or whatever technology and all that's just going to become more and more prevalent in our life. And
Sorry to bring it back again, but as like as everything moves to zeros and ones and technologized, easier to monopolize as well on digital formats than analog.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely.
Especially, and it's like lubricating the bad monopolies relationship with the governments. They can just be like, can you just search engine this, or like, this is hate speech, blah blah blah. Get it out of here.
Yeah,
You know
so
what I
I think that's. I mean, yeah, it's like a fairly obvious one.
Yeah.
I mean, already, I guess you would say if you went to like a school today, it's 100 times different than it was when we were at school. Like, they all use laptops and stuff like that. Even some of the exams are on computers now, which was like considered outrageous. I remember there was like talk of it or something. Maybe when we were at high school, it was like, how would you like stop people from cheating on computers? Obviously, they'll have ways now, but yeah, it was fairly like foreign concept. But yeah, so like if you went to school today, it would be completely different than it was when we were there. So that's an obvious one. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I guess
And people are definitely not becoming less amorous with their technological devices.
Yeah.
There's no way. It's like intensifying at an exponential rate.
maybe
We're going to fuse with computers, man.
Yeah, technically
We
this
can't
is
help it.
not
Can't help ourselves.
Yeah, this is not again, it's not an out there projection, but like birth rates are declining all throughout Western world. Like, yeah, that's only going to continue dropping with technology, more people literally sticking to their own devices.
Yeah, and people who say that like, oh, immigration will fix that. Those countries are just like 50 years behind, so it's just like bandaging a leak. And so in 50 more years, all their population will drop as well,
Yeah,
and then it'll start being a whole.
I don't know.
They felt like China's dropping.
China is,
as the countries become more wealthy, and so that's the using immigration, like, oh, we'll be fine, guys. It's all right. We'll be fine. We'll immigrate heaps of people, and then those countries that they're coming from follow the same.
So maybe a wild prediction would be then eventually we stop having children, but we live forever.
Yeah, I know. I think you're right. That's where you're heading. If we let everything coast,
if
everyone hands off
prediction.
coasts like society, it'll coast that way. That's the way it's going to go.
Start having children, and those who remain forever.
Yeah,
if they want to.
Also, because we've like poisoned everything we ingest. Like, we pollute the air, shit in our food, shit in our water.
True.
And then we're like, oh no, our sperm count's going down.
Yeah.
Cell phones in pockets.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man.
I
What the heck?
think eventually we will get, I don't know, like, I know I'm not like a huge advocate of it at the moment, but you will eventually probably get like your food down to just like a pill that we can take if we want, rather than being like,
That's what I'm saying, man. Life's getting more grey. It's not just us getting older. It's like everything's going to turn into like this grey pill that you take. No food. No bright food.
I guess a positive spin on it would be that if like everything is super efficient, then maybe it can be like what Karl Marx's dream was, that everyone has so much time that one day they can be a guitar player, tomorrow they can be a pianist.
Well, I reckon that the efficiency is
something related to that.
Yeah,
but
you go.
I was going to say, I think this might be slightly longer term, but I think there may be some technological advance with it. It could be like the ability to download information into our conscience, say learn a new language in the space just like that.
Yeah, put a USB chip in.
Obviously, a lot of that, you might understand the theoretical, and it might be harder to like put that in because obviously speaking and listening to a different language is completely different. But I think that might be something that would happen, where it could be a point where people could be all polyglots if they choose to, or at least understand other languages but not be able to speak them.
Maybe a good prediction there was that eventually we'll just speak the same language.
Yeah, I think so.
Or not even need to speak to each other and just...
Yeah, it kind of makes sense if we think of like globalization.
Yeah. People used to say that text speech was like the low bandwidth first, because everyone says LOL now.
Right.
Like in real life.
That's funny. I have a colleague...
BRB. I'm real bad for it.
Mid-60s, or nearing retirement age anyway, who emailed... internal email with an LOL in it. Just reading it was a little bit strange.
A shock.
Just a shock to the system.
I think that's a plausible one in that maybe unless we maybe like within 100 years, 200 years maybe actually, like we all, or like the majority of us, everyone speaks English maybe. I don't know.
Or it might be a new language, but if it is going to follow the trend of the text language, it's basically code. We're basically speaking code. What uses code? Computers.
But I think it does make sense if we're heading towards, this is where we go on like Michio Kaku, like theoretical physicist producing, like we're at the moment we're like a type, there's all these type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3 civilizations.
Yeah, that's real fascinating. I love
it's
that
real
shit.
fascinating. I think he reckons that
We're like nearly type 1, are we?
yeah, I think we're like a 0.5 or something.
Yeah,
so we still have wars and stuff like that, so we're not like combined, but we're heading that way. Globalization,
Fusion energy, getting
yeah,
there.
that's getting close.
Tapping at the edges of fusion energy.
Yeah,
it seems.
that's pretty exciting because that's essentially first step. If we master that, it's like we can have unlimited energy.
Yeah.
So like that's
Yeah.
and that's exciting. That
I hope there's no
can you
conspiracies behind
explain-
that and it's just not being released on
Can you
purpose.
explain
Nuclear fusion-
like on 5, ELI 5?
like the sun. The sun is a nuclear fusion reaction.
Yeah.
And scientists have just created that here.
Yeah, just
They
recently.
created
Yeah.
a nuclear
That
fusion.
happened this year, 2022.
I think they may
That's
have
big.
done it because I'm not an expert on it. They may have done it before, but there was more energy. Like
Come out of it,
No. Yeah. So
Sorry.
if they had done it before, it required more energy than the energy it produced. This is the first time they've done it where the reaction created more energy than the energy that was used to create the reaction.
Yeah, I see.
So, the end goal is that you have what the sun is, which
Yes.
is an unlimited energy source, but you can obviously control it. Like,
Yeah.
We can't,
Also
we do-
maintaining it. They're struggling to maintain it.
Yeah,
They
so
last for like
it's-
15 seconds.
yeah,
and now
it's-
it's like 20, like 2 minutes or
It's
something. And get it
super
to go for.
infant, but it's like that's like the first flight that got off the ground.
Yeah,
for like
and it's way less dangerous apparently. That might be
Yeah, 'cause
propaganda.
it doesn't create it's not radioactive.
Yeah, it
doesn't
sounds
create
way more
waste.
dangerous because we assume like way higher risk,
Yeah,
way
no,
higher reward,
no.
way higher
So
risk.
it's like
but
basically an unlimited
Yeah.
clean energy source. If,
Yeah, that's
if
awesome.
they get it to a
Yeah,
point
that's
where
interesting.
go hard on that. And I
Yeah,
hope there's
not-
no like conspiracy about like the big fossil fuel industry and their massive control and with the government. I hope they're not having any vested interests that would lead to them suppressing any of that information.
hopefully not,
Or funding at least.
I think
All they have to do is not
I think
fund them.
eventually, like the greater good wins out, even if there is a temporary like. Hold
hope
on.
so, man.
And
I
I mean,
agree.
if you consider like fossil fuels are a limited resource, eventually we're going to run out of them anyway. So
Yeah.
like maybe they'll just try and diversify into that. They're the ones controlling.
Yeah, they could more easily transition because they're so set up.
Yeah, they know. Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
We the people.
It's beneficial for
have
everyone.
power.
But yeah, I think with like type 0.5 civilization, we're still pretty primitive and you're still fighting wars. And part of that, I guess, is we still speak different languages. But then we do have like globalization. Like it's super easy to get to nearly anywhere in the world. We can, like get on a plane and it's even easier, like sending products and stuff around the world. So we do have that. Yeah, we're a much more global society. So we're heading in that direction. But yeah, I guess a natural step for that would be that we all speak the same language.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think it's in the world's best interest.
what-
It's in everyone's best interest. The
Yeah.
hypothetical bad guys at the top and
I think-
and all of us.
Yeah, it'll probably stop a lot of petty confusions that we have because it's super easy to like paint other people as the bad guy, right? The Iraq is the bad guys or whatever when they speak a different language, and we can sort of like dehumanize them.
They'll also
they speak
they'll.
this crazy
I think you're
language.
actually real on point with because they'll actually. Damn, what was I going to say? Shit.
It's hitting you.
About the languages. They're going to have quite a bit of resistance, I think, because think about how many cultures.
Yeah.
English is probably a bit loose, but base their whole culture around the language. Like,
Yeah.
that's like a massive part of Maori culture in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong to be all speaking one language. I think it's inevitable. I think it's efficient. It
It
works.
just makes sense, especially
Yeah.
like
And-
if we are going to become like a intergalactic species.
Yeah.
Like you're not
And,
going to be
like-
speaking multiple different languages when we're like
Yeah.
on this galactic scale.
And if it'd be so inefficient, or unless you have super high tech translators. But
But that's it. That's an inefficiency, isn't it? Is that you need like an intermediary to we're all going to be speaking the same language when we're doing stuff like that.
I was going to say as well, because like nations and cultures identify so strongly with their language. When you all speak one, it'd be beneficial because everyone will realize more that we're just all the same.
Yeah,
And it doesn't matter if
Yeah.
you live on that side
exactly.
of the
That's what
line
I mean.
or this
It's
side of the
super
line.
easy. It's way easier to dehumanize people and start wars if you if they language is obviously a big part of it, but it can be like skin color
divide
and stuff
and conquer.
as well. It's like,
Divide and conquer,
it's like
isn't it?
they're not the same as us, so we can destroy them.
Yeah.
It's way harder if they can speak the same language and be like,
I think that's like a
something-
major concern of the conspiracy theorists who are written off. Is just like, especially COVID allowed all this to happen. It was like, while we're all fighting each other, the monopolization is just like continuing, and we're still like, seems like more so than ever, all be like, you're trans, you're like rainbow, you're black.
yeah,
Like even more so. Just seems like, I always thought in the 90s, you go back to any 90s show, rewatching Malcolm in the Middle, but any like show like that in the 90s, perfect diversification, like ratio almost, you see. They've always got like a black, granted they're a bit tokenized, but they've got like, you know, they got women in leading roles, black kids, Asian kids, like disabled people, like all having these roles in these shows. So I feel like in the 90s, I feel like we must have been pretty much done.
I don't think I really paid any attention to that until it became prevalent.
No, me neither. And I was like,
And I noticed when I was
It's-
traveling and I saw an advertisement on TV, and also like a printed advertisement where they ticked every box. It was like one black man, one Asian woman, Asian man, like it's like a legal team, but it didn't look as though they were like an actual, you know, like as everyone in the businesses kind of stage. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but it's like, or unless they specifically chose these people because it looked good.
yeah, no
And
doubt.
then on
Like,
TV,
everyone knows it. Everyone knows that's happening.
yeah,
It's
like
no secret.
but
no one
honestly,
says it.
I don't really pay that much attention. I kind of just
Yeah.
doesn't phase me that much.
I know, and that's the thing. That's the right way to be. I'd say it's like not important. There's like
No.
way bigger things to think about. Let's all get
Yeah.
along, guys.
I reckon maybe one
Quickly.
more
Quickly
big,
now.
big or long shot prediction maybe is that we'll have one more big world war before we become the
Everything comes in
type one
in
civilization.
trilogies.
Yeah, so
Do you have any predictions of who will be on what side?
I think that's pretty obvious. You can pick out a lot of them. It'll be China, Russia, North Korea, probably various other satellite states,
Yeah.
maybe like Kazakhstan and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Versus USA, Australia, Britain, Japan. Oh, yeah,
Nah, Japan are cucked now.
yeah, yeah.
As coming from a
That's-
cucked country,
that's a-
coming from a cucked country.
It's a hard, yeah. I mean,
not a diss.
I'm not denying that
What is a diss?
possibility of happening. It would be very different world war compared to the last two and how they pan out.
It's gonna be gnarly.
Like, is it purely nuclear, or is it going to be like the fact now you can, you know, drone strike? Like,
Yeah.
for example, it's like,
I think you probably look to the war that's happening right now in Ukraine. I think it's still fairly primitive. Like, yeah, there's always that threat of nuclear, and yeah, they do use drones and stuff like that, hypersonic missiles, but it's still, ultimately you need people on the ground to like take cities. So you can do that to loosen them up, warm them up or whatever, but then you need boots on the ground to go in and actually take and occupy territory.
You've been watching some documentaries, some wartime documentaries, haven't you?
yeah.
No, that's good insight. That's
he's
good
got
intel.
one of those
That's real good.
tables with massive maps and the old school, like, people, you know, if you're coming from this front, then you get attacked from this front. They'll retreat back here, then we can take them.
I've always been curious about that. It's like non-nerd adult
like Risk.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
It's like power nerd, but like not if you're like a Dungeons and Dragons nerd.
Video games for adult.
Yeah.
A very real
Well, they didn't have
video
that. They
game.
didn't have
Oh, say what? This is more thing. We've got a Rugby World Cup coming up next year.
Oh, yeah.
Prediction.
not high on my radar.
No, that's fair.
But,
But,
you know,
as
you
New
guys-
Zealanders,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, we get behind rugby, and some people, particularly the All Blacks. I'm gonna go with the prediction that I think the French will win at home and win their first World Cup.
We'll go with Ireland, but it's super tough.
I have no idea. I couldn't make a guess.
Fair
I don't
enough.
know. I don't know enough.
Another thing I was thinking of,
So up the ABs.
because we were talking about globalization in terms of, well, I don't think this is really connected, but you've got Bitcoin as like the
Oh yeah,
the count, you know, the
I
counter.
think it might be a fizzer.
You think it's going to die
I think
out?
there'll
I
be
think it's
like
gonna get legislated
parts-
out.
I think well, that's it. If you think about it, the crypto bros theory is that it's decentralized and all that. There's no way that the powers that be are
let it
gonna
happen.
let that happen, right? No,
No,
so
they're going to let us all start paying with an untaxable currency to each other.
the technology
think
will
so.
be incorporated, some of it anyway, but it won't be.
So you think it'll be used more for like low key transactions, or even like black market sort of?
Yeah, that's what it already
stuff.
is. You buy all the stuff that they don't legislate, which is
but
drugs.
I think it could
and
become a modern currency,
worse stuff.
but it'll be like what the currencies in the world are today.
So it's
They'll
not
be-
going to shoot up in price to.
I
reckon we'll have another
exponential.
Yeah, well,
little
you
run.
might. There'll be speculation.
bull run,
I
I
don't. Yeah, this is long. Like,
50k US dollars.
I reckon
like,
at least before it
speaking-
dies, before
yeah.
it splutters out, and if it dies. Otherwise, it'll go to the
It'll be
moon,
the last
baby.
last pump and dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking like long-ish term with that, I think like the technology will be incorporated. Like that'll probably become modern money, but it'll use the Bitcoin blockchain technology or whatever. But they'll be
It
like
does just
actual current, like they'll be like currencies like they are today. They won't be this untraceable, untaxable thing or whatever.
unless we can. Like, it basically comes from if everyone valued and recognized Bitcoin as we probably do, as like a genuine currency, it's not like just a joke. It's like, it might not be great, but it's not just a joke. Then surely the technology we can have will allow us to easily like pay each other. If you value Bitcoin enough for me to pay you back in Bitcoin for something you bought from me in like New Zealand dollars, if that's on a wide scale, then I think we can undercut. You can just do it ourselves.
Yeah, it's hard.
Go guerrilla.
The value of it,
But
too, 'cause
then-
it's so fluctuates so much.
I think then,
But that's because it's only
where-
just starting, I reckon.
that's where it would
like,
be.
No one knows.
If ever like the powers that be said like, oh well, like this is getting out of hand now, like they're using this more than the current, the
Yeah.
they'll say
They'll
no,
legislate
this
it
is illegal, whatever, and then there'll be an underground market.
They'll make it
that'll-
illegal, and they already have the excuse. Wait for it; it'll guaranteed be an excuse. It'll be like, you want to use Bitcoin? Like, did you know 90% of Bitcoin purchases are used to buy illicit substances and child pedophile things? It's like that's all you can buy with Bitcoin at the moment.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Of course, that's going to
Yeah,
be
so
the
I
main.
think
Make it normal, and that'll drop to the regular percent.
the general prediction there will be whether it's Bitcoin itself or something else. Cryptocurrency will exist; it'll be incorporated, but it won't be like the.
We'll have like Bunnings coin.
or
suck.
we'll just have the New Zealand dollar that's a cryptocurrency, and
Yeah,
it's just
true.
like a highly efficient whatever form of the currency it is today that doesn't have paper money, which is already on its way out. But it's a hyper efficient transaction form, instant transactions, hyper secure.
What
like that.
defines a cryptocurrency? Because
I
what
have
if they
no
just
idea,
removed
so I'm not
all
an
cash from the society now?
I'm not
Would
an expert
New
on that.
Zealand dollar, I suppose by default, would then be a cryptocurrency because we'd only be trading online?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I just know that there are strong forces in the world that won't allow the
happen.
crypto bros version of reality to happen.
Yeah,
The
good point,
technology,
good point.
my understanding, my very basic understanding is that there is some good underlying technology, the blockchain and that, even though I don't understand it. So that will be incorporated. It's just not going to be this revolutionary, untraceable, whatever currency that everyone
it's quite
uses.
romanticized, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess, tying in, if there's going to be another large world war, it might be that the winner of that, they'll be the ones to homogenize the world to take us to that next step. Because if you think about it,
We'll be speaking Chinese. That's what they really want us to learn,
Yeah.
Chinese. Hint, hint.
that,
Take the hint.
if you really think about it, that's kind of what happened to a large degree after World War II. If you think about it, that was the start. Like the United States before World War II was not what the United States is. The,
Culturally,
obviously-
or like both economically
like
and culturally?
in terms of like world power and being like
Yeah.
the leaders of both, I guess, economically, like reserve currency and
I reckon culturally as well.
culturally,
Everything's been Americanized.
yeah.
No doubt.
America used to be super isolationist. Like it's not what it is today, where they're getting involved in every conflict and stuff. They used to, and they like even with World War II, like they didn't get involved until obviously Japan got involved first by bombing Pearl Harbor. Like they were super, and no, like Americans weren't keen for war before Pearl Harbor. They're like, stay the fuck out of this. They were super isolationist. They were nothing like they are today. It was after World War II and during. There's some absurd statistic out there where like the USA got like an absurd amount of the world's gold during World War II. Because like, and I guess I don't know that that's super relevant today because then we went off gold standard at a certain point, but America became wealthy, essentially, super wealthy from World War II, and became a massive influence over the world after World War II. So the world hasn't been completely homogenized because we still have countries that don't like the United States and do their own thing, completely opposite of the United States. But compared to World War II and after, half of the world almost roughly has been Americanized, if you want to call it that, where we follow America.
Yeah. It's becoming pretty obvious where the true power lies. Like the unelected elite, it's obviously coming from Europe or America somewhere, because that's what probably America. I think that's because that's how they have pull all these levers, and they also they only have so much power as well. Partly because the world uses the American dollar as a standardization.
I think that's
just
the
from
big
people's
thing.
belief. We could have just as easily chose the NZD.
Yeah, so I think
or the euro. Or something.
I think that's the big thing is that the USD is the reserve currency of the world. Admittedly, I don't know when. I guess that happened after we went off the gold standard, so that was after World War II. But obviously, that gives you an idea of the power.
Yeah. Would that be why they're insane levels of debt and printing insane amounts of money?
Because ultimately,
they can't let the world
to
because it'd be the whole world, right?
That and it's backed up by the US military, which is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
So it's it's the whole world that use the USD. Does China and those? A lot of trade, any trade that I've done in China is done in US dollars. So it's crazy to think, right? You think these two countries hate each other, but still a lot of their trade is in US dollars. Oil, as we know, they say it's
US dollars a barrel.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So they what do they call it? There's a term for it. It's the oil currency. There's a cute term,
the petrodollar.
Petrodollar, that's it. Yeah,
that is a cute term.
That's the power of the United States. And so perhaps again, I guess now that you can see there's a credible threat to the United States of China and stuff. So perhaps we have this one more big world war, and then after that, because everyone will be wrecked. Everyone on the losing side will be wrecked. The winner will homogenize everything, start speaking whatever it be, and that will take us to the next level where we're all the same, doing the same. And I don't know. That's a very. I mean, as I say, these are far-fetched predictions, but it's a bit of fun. Right?
No, it's very easy to contemplate and reflect on.
I mean, I think I guess it's hard to say because we haven't experienced a world war, so we don't know to look for what the telltale
I think
signs,
for all intents and purposes as well, we've lost the lessons from World War II. I feel people say you don't forget, the point of history is to not forget it, so you don't make the same mistakes. And I feel as a society, we also couldn't really know unless you really go out of your way to consume all the content from it and figure out what it's like as best possible. Then we don't really know. And we'll be screw China. Just always aggravating.
I feel there's probably some of the signs out there, there's growing resentment, there's growing nationalism in the world, things like that can poke the bear. And obviously we do have a war going on, which in theory is very similar to the start of World War II.
Right? See, I don't know that. You only know that because you've been informing yourself, right?
Yeah. The only difference.
Did you know that?
The only difference. Well, technically, it's the start of World War II. We think when Germany invaded Poland. Technically, World War II started in 1937 when Japan invaded China, but no one really cares about that.
Intel, that's juicy.
But it's very similar. It's Russia reclaiming land that they think is theirs. The only real difference is that other countries, obviously Britain and France, said, "Well, we're not. This is that we're not having this," and then that created the war because they entered it after Germany entered Poland. Whereas everyone in the world is being very careful at the moment to support Ukraine as much as possible without actually getting involved because they know that's it. That's the spark, right?
Yeah.
USA send one soldier on the ground in Ukraine, and that's
China will go.
that's still. Oh, and I've seen stuff. There's all this conflict going on in the Indian-China border at the moment as well. So there's simmering tensions ever out there. So I don't know.
It just takes one soldier.
If it
Yeah,
were to happen,
Fuck. And it's so out of our hands.
and
It's so out of our hands. Let's be
pretty
honest.
sure-
The people have no control over this.
yeah,
What's going to happen?
I don't know a lot about World War One, but I believe World War One started again. There would have been simmering tensions, land and everything, of course. But it was like a duke or someone got shot. Someone of prominence got shot, and that was the catalyst. Like, right, all this tension's built up, and now we have a reason to start this war.
I wonder if it's like publicly broadcast as much as the after effects, but seems like anyway, I don't know what's like in America. Would get a smaller portion in New Zealand, but you get on the news, it's like America's funded Ukraine, and this happened in the war today, and it's a real bad, gnarly thing. And I forgot where I was going with that. Damn it.
that's fine. I think if there were to be a world war, it'd be very different because, I mean, you have real time and live like updates of what's going on, whereas back then you would have had to read about it in the paper the next day or something.
Yeah.
Top of that, if you're talking about the US being a superpower, well, they're also going through their own kind of cultural war at the moment with like, you call it what it is, if it's wokeism, or even like the left versus the right. Like, if that were to happen, like, it doesn't surprise me if China, is looking for the right time to strike.
Yeah, it feels like the distractions there are like
intense. You think about
on a
how
hype
quickly
level.
like that cultural war would die if there was a proper war.
Everyone would just get on board, start enlisting.
Well, 95%. There would
that's
still
what I
be
was-
the vocal minority.
That's
But
what I was gonna
they
say.
can all move up to like Portland. And
yeah.
they can take the left side, California.
Yeah.
And,
That's what I was going to say. It's like so out of the public's control. Like I think they find after the fact, they're like, we sent a bomber to scout this today, and it's like, did anyone choose that, or did we just find out after it's happened? That could have been the spark. That like like
there's
people
so
have
many
no-
things
yeah.
like close.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, like things where all it would take is one accidental move, and that would be the catalyst. Like you read about like these China or America, but all
Moving
sides
their
are
boats
they're
into-
constantly antagonizing one another. Or we're running freedom of navigation adventures, like that's when like USA and a bunch of other countries take their ships into the South China Sea, which technically it's China, I think, is in the wrong there. They're trying to claim something that's not theirs, but USA and co then antagonize them by going through there with massive warships to be like, look at us. And then
they do this. The China move there close to.
they move it close to some island, I think. Near the Philippines. Isn't
near
it?
the Philippines.
So both sides are doing it. I'm not saying, both sides are equally bad as each other. And then they're constantly running like these practice drills where they take out all the aircrafts and go close to one another's borders.
I actually think that can be kind of misunderstood as well. I think we assume those like showing off your cock for lack of a better flexing.
You're flexing
that's
your
a better
military
term. Like flexing,
power.
just flexing, non-contact flexing is actually like the closest you could get to war on purpose without like setting the spark, but you're like inching. You're like, this is what we mean. This is what we mean. Instead of being like starting right down here and just being straight war or not. I think it's actually a good thing. You do a little bit, and you're like just testing. You're like, okay, or you gives a bit of give and take.
It could be argued,
but I feel like the spark happens anyway.
But you're running a fine line because if someone does make one
Definitely a fine
maneuver, like
done for.
It's
like
you're just getting
if you're
closer to the
shadow
line.
boxing against someone, you just pretend
accidentally
to punch
punch
them. You accidentally hit them. It's like, that gives grounds for someone to hit back.
I'm saying that stuff is like, I thought between 0 and 1, it's like 0.1, 0.2.
Yeah, it's like
0.3.
releasing energy. If it every time they do it successfully, it releases a little bit of tension. It's like a small earthquake. Showing you
that's
out,
what I mean,
and now we'll cool down a bit for a month or two. But every time they do
But
that,
they're like, stop this,
there
I'm
is that
serious.
small risk that if someone accidentally shoots the missile or whatever, it goes.
Someone's palms get sweaty and start slipping.
we would never know if any battle has ever started that way.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
We'll
possible.
probably have to wrap up pretty soon. We're hitting almost the hour 20 mark.
Pretty sure that came super close in the Cold War. That came super
Yeah.
close. There was an order given. I think it was the Soviet Union that gave the order to fire a nuclear missile from a sub, and the commander actively defied that order, and that stopped.
Yeah, respect.
I'm pretty sure that's a true story.
Yeah, there's been a couple instances as well on the American side where they've been like in front of the button, like everything's been
Yeah,
switched off,
so-
and they'd done all the safety, and then they had literally had the
ready
finger.
when you
over.
are. So
Yeah,
give me
there's
the
literally that.
give
One
me
of the
the orders and
presidents,
I
I
will
think,
do
or
it.
one of the
Any final predictions throw out there?
Nah, but
Yeah, I
Have
think
advice.
other.
I had a random one, completely unrelated. I think in the next 5 years, that in New Zealand particularly, the highest recorded temperature will be surpassed. So
in the next 10,
5.
oh 5, oh
So-
yeah, guaranteed, I reckon.
Well, the highest ever recorded temperature in New Zealand was in Rangiora in 1973.
Oh, okay,
46.
Not guaranteed,
42.4 apparently. This is what it's saying.
just a matter of time.
So I reckon that will surpass in the next 5 years.
yeah,
We might even hit 40 degrees this summer.
yeah, they'll really cook. They'll really kill my grass. God dang it! Gosh dang it! My lawns.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of some other like
No doubt.
similar sort of predictions for some. I can't think of anything off the top of my
I
head.
reckon the underground will grow, but might as well do it faster by actively intending to underground everything, like buying off your neighbours and stuff, and local
I think
artisan
trading.
arts.
I think
yeah,
that would
trading.
be a good thing. But I'm not
think
so
so
sure that will happen. I feel like
No,
we're
I don't
going
know.
more and more away from that.
I think you're right,
but
but
I
it's
think
our
that's a good
choice.
thing. I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah, it's our choice if we want to or
If
not.
we do have more of that small scale and community,
Yeah.
like minded stuff.
I think, and I just want to one more point, one
No,
last
go
point.
for it.
I wrote it down a while ago that because you mentioned efficiency again. I reckon I really honestly believe that the drive, like unconscious, I'd say drive for efficiency. Like we love the technology, like more and more. Obviously, everything's getting faster. I think it's like a misplaced search for meaning.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think. And then we'll get to the end and we'll be invincible and we're like, oh,
Yeah, and
Whoops,
I
that
feel
wasn't the
like
point, and then start.
That's where that can tie into war again because that would give everyone meaning.
yeah, exactly. Maybe
yeah.
we're just not good at I suppose it's just where you get your meaning from. Then you get into religious territory.
I think
and God is
it's
violent.
it's a real problem
God is also violent.
in Western society and maybe society in general. It's something I'm personally struggle with. It's like, what is the point of this? Like, I live a comfortable life, but like, what's the point of it all? You know, like, what's the point?
That
of
is
getting
kind
up
of
in the
Jordan
morning?
Peterson's whole message, right?
Yeah.
One of his main points about meaning.
So yeah, and obviously
Maps
I'm
of meaning.
not alone in that like lack of meaning. It's like, I've like got all the boxes or nearly all the boxes ticked,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
it's like, what's the point of it? It's like,
I know how you feel, man.
Yeah, so it's not unique to me. I think that's a real issue around the world, and I think that will only get worse. Yeah, I think
so.
like 'cause I
As we
think-
stray further from God.
yeah, and,
not even joking.
and stray further away from one another in terms of like technology, spending less time.
One another is God.
I'll say last one. Grim predictions. Any celebrity deaths? Any deaths
Oh.
of note?
I don't want to
Nah,
create
let's
that.
not
I don't
do
want
that.
to put that out.
William Shatner.
You reckon?
He's like
Fine.
91.
You just cursed William Shatner.
He's like 91.
Charlie
but
Munger?
He looks so good. Yeah, it's got to be Warren Buffett or
Warren
Charlie
Buffett
Munger
or
that
Charlie
die in the
Munger?
next 2 years, right? William Shatner looks incredible for
Gilf.
91. He looks like
Gilfin?
70, maybe.
Sick.
Clint Eastwood, he's got to die. He's like 90 something. He's got to die.
Clint Eastwood. He's not looking up,
He's
man.
so old. He's still
Yeah.
like in the business.
Yeah, they are
Oh,
grim. You can't call these as
92.
grim
Damn.
because that's
Crazy,
that's Hall's life.
I was thinking of like Gran Torino. And
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
know.
man, that was what 12, 14 years ago.
I don't know when it came out. But
2008 it came out, and I'm
yeah.
like, oh, he looks like he's 60.
yeah, no, it's
Oh
crazy.
no, let's not do that. That's a bit. It's a bit rough.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, in terms of other predictions,
Well,
I guess the future's hard to predict.
it is hard to
Yeah,
predict.
it's
We'll
really-
see.
We'll see, but
End of next year.
yeah,
review.
that wraps the Friday Council up for 2022. Thanks to everyone who's listened so far.
Yeah.
And well, you'll probably be listening to this in the new year, but
Hopefully we'll take it to next level in the new year. That's a
Yeah.
prediction.
yeah, that's a
Well,
prediction.
and take care of yourself while
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Look after yourself. But that wraps up episode 17, and we'll see you next time.
Farewell.
Peace out.
Farewell,
Happy New Year.
everyone.